Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Everybody can hear me okay? First and foremost, I'm MP Heath MacDonald from the riding of Malpeque. To add to that, I grew up in Cornwall. I raised a family in Cornwall. And I know to some of your surprises how young I look. I'm a grandparent. And my children are growing up in Cornwall. So this is a wonderful announcement today. But before I get started, I would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on today is the unceded territory of the Indigenous people. It's a pleasure to be here. You're an MP in a riding and the Prime Minister comes to town and you have the Premier here. You have Minister McCauley, Minister McLean, and of course, Natalie. I want to call her Natalie. You know, she's an old colleague in the Legislative Assembly. So, you know, this announcement is transformative for young families. I talked to Cole and Star today. They're paying $20 a week for their child to be here. They're expecting a child, and they're going to be paying $20 a week after that child is born and starts to come here. That $20 a day, sorry. That is transformative in people's. Wasn't that the no?
$10 a day we're working.
Yeah. So you know, we're very, very fortunate. You know, no matter what government or what side of the government you're on, this is likely one of the best policies that any government could put forward. It does so much. It's inclusive, it's affordable, and it's accessible. And the additional items that are going to be talked about here today are even giving this so much strength that we will be the envy of many other countries. We will be the envy, and we already are, of many other provinces. So without further ado, I want to introduce my boss, the Prime Minister of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Heath, for welcoming us here to your beautiful riding. Thank you, Minister McCauley, Minister Sudds, for being part of this, all the other colleagues. But I really especially want to thank Dennis. The Premier and I have been working together extraordinarily well on a whole bunch of issues over these past years. But I have to say, when we sat down and started talking about childcare, it was, you just lit up, and we're so excited about it and so ambitious about it. You really led the way here in Prince Edward Island. Natalie, you were a big part of that, making sure that happened. But the efforts and the investments here made in Prince Edward Island in childcare alongside the federal government have made a huge difference in people's lives. It makes a difference in kids getting the best possible start. It makes a difference for families in terms of affordability and making sure that they're able to get the work done that they need to while supporting their kids. But it's also, and you've understood this from the beginning as a Conservative, it's about economic growth, not just about social programs. There is an economic case that is being made across the country right now, indeed around the world, for childcare that is helping with labor shortages, is increasing quality of life, and the investments that we're making together, not just in great spaces and supports for families, but in the people who make these centers such quality spaces, the early childhood educators, making sure that we're supporting them, making it a viable and exciting career path for people to choose, to be part of contributing to the community and the world around us. This is an economic announcement, not a social announcement, although when you do good policy, it's all those things together. And Dennis, from the very beginning, you've understood that. You've been there at the forefront, pushing and challenging other premiers to try and catch up with you. And I have to say, what we get to do when we work together to deliver for Canadians is what this country's all about. And that's why it's always such a pleasure to be here with you. But before I begin, I do want to say a couple of words about the devastating wildfires in the Northwest Territories and in British Columbia. People are facing horrific situations. People are fleeing for their lives. They're worried about their communities. And Canadians from coast to coast to coast are watching in horror the images of apocalyptic devastation and fires going on in communities that so many of us know and so many of us have friends in. This is a scary and heartbreaking time for people. I got to meet with a number of evacuees on Friday in Edmonton, where they had driven down 17, 20, 25 hours to be able to find safety from Yellowknife. People were in good spirits, but scared. Worried about what's going to happen. We're continuing to monitor very closely the situation of the fires, both in Kelowna, in Northwest Territories, particularly around Yellowknife and elsewhere. There's still concerns, but people are working incredibly hard to keep these communities safe. The Canadian Armed Forces are there. Resources across the federal government have been deployed, including Fisheries and Oceans, Service Canada centres, EI acceleration, all sorts of things that we're doing right now to make sure people are able to stay safe, able to keep their families safe as well, but also look towards a day when they're going to be able to go home and hopefully get back to their lives in safety. These are the kinds of things that we are all working on extremely closely. We've approved a request in British Columbia to deploy the armed forces. Les pensées de tous les Canadiens sont avec les gens des territoires du Nord-Ouest et de la Colombie-Britannique. Je remercie les pompiers, les bénévoles, et tous les gens qui sont sur le terrain pour leur travail incroyable. On continue de travailler ensemble pour garder nos communautés en sécurité et on va être là pour aider à rebâtir. As many of you may know, we're having a cabinet retreat this week here in Prince Edward Island. It's a time to talk about the things that matter so much to Canadians. But obviously, even as we're digging into affordability and housing and other things, these wildfires are a pressing concern. We will be hosting an IRG this afternoon to make sure that the federal government is continuing to do everything necessary to keep people safe and coordinate with the provinces. Our Minister of Emergency Preparedness, Harjit Sajjan, will be there at the IRG virtually because he's chosen to stay home in British Columbia to lead the federal efforts there while he participates at distance from this cabinet retreat because the coordination with the province, being there on the ground for people is unbelievably important. I also have to say that being there on the ground for people and seeing how Canadians are responding to this is inspiring. And I see it right across the country, from Nova Scotia, where I visited there, to Alberta, to Quebec, to BC and the Northwest Territories. Canadians step up for each other. And yes, our first responders, our Canadian Armed Forces are extraordinary. Our firefighters across the country are doing incredible things and indeed welcoming people from around the world to help out. But Canadians as well, looking out for their neighbors, supporting strangers from their community, opening up, welcoming into their homes people from other provinces, from other regions. It has been the very best of Canada that we've seen through these difficult times, through this incredibly difficult summer. And I just want to say how inspiring it is to know that no matter how bad things get, Canadians are going to continue to be there for each other. And people have questions about whether they've lost their homes, about whether they need to evacuate, about how things are going, and that's where local news is so important. And the work that people are doing to share messages and keep people informed with safe, up-to-date information is unbelievably essential to keeping Canadians safe. That's why, and I'm going to make a comment on this, it is so inconceivable that a company like Facebook is choosing to put corporate profits ahead of ensuring that local news organizations can get up-to-date information to Canadians and reach them where Canadians spend a lot of their time, online, on social media, on Facebook. Facebook made billions of dollars in profits over the past years, including off of Canadians. And we recently passed legislation that says, Facebook, if you're going to be sharing news or work done by Canadian journalists or local news, you have to make sure they're compensated for it fairly. Well, instead of making sure that local journalists are fairly paid for keeping Canadians informed on things like wildfires, Facebook is blocking news from its sites. In a larger picture, that's bad for democracy because democracy depends on people being able to trust high-quality journalism of all sorts of different perspectives and points of view. But right now, in an emergency situation, where up-to-date local information is more important than ever, Facebook's putting corporate profits ahead of people's safety, ahead of supporting quality local journalism. This is not the time for that. This is the time for Canadians to continue to pull together and be there for each other. It's time for us to expect more from corporations like Facebook that are making billions of dollars off of Canadians. Je veux souligner à quel point c'est une frustration pour moi. Pendant que je vois que les Canadiens sont là les uns pour les autres, avec énormément de générosité et de présence pour accueillir des gens qui fuient pour leur vie, qui quittent leur communauté, que Facebook continue de bloquer l'accès aux nouvelles sur les feux de forêt, aux nouvelles locales pour les Canadiens qui en ont besoin. Ils mettent leurs profits, les profits de leur corporation, en priorité plutôt que le bien-être et l'information pour les Canadiens. Ils refusent d'assurer que les journalistes locaux soient payés de façon adéquate pour informer et partager les nouvelles avec les Canadiens. Ils préfèrent laisser les personnes en danger plutôt que de partager ou de faire leur juste part pour appuyer la démocratie et le journalisme local. C'est épouvantable. Et c'est pour ça que le Canada et les alliés à travers le monde tiennent fort pour dire que les nouvelles sont essentielles pour notre démocratie, puis les corporations comme Facebook doivent payer leur juste part. With that, let me say how great it is to be back on Prince Edward Island, how great it was to be able to spend a little time with some kids and to meet some amazing parents and teachers who are so key to building the kind of community and the kind of future we need in this country. We're here at the Island Montessori Academy in Cornwall to announce investments that will deliver real results for families on P.E.I. and help make life more affordable. On est ici aujourd'hui pour améliorer l'accès aux services de garde pour les familles de l'île du Prince-Édouard et pour améliorer les conditions de travail pour les employés dans les garderies. Back-to-school season is very exciting, but it can also cause a lot of financial stress. Parents often spend hundreds of dollars on school supplies during this time of year, and our government remains focused on making life more affordable for Canadians, which will be our top priority during our cabinet retreat this week. Last Friday, payments for the Canada Child Benefit went out. In July, the maximum amounts for low-income families increased by hundreds of dollars. Families with kids under 6 can now receive up to almost $7,500 per year. And families with kids aged 6 through 17 can get up to almost $6,300 per child every year. And for parents with kids who are not going to school yet, like the ones I had the chance to meet earlier, we're making childcare more affordable and more accessible. Il y a 2 ans, notre gouvernement a fait des investissements historiques pour réduire de moitié les frais de service de garde. 6 provinces et territoires ont déjà atteint 10 $ par jour et les frais partout ailleurs ont effectivement été réduits de moitié. Here on P.E.I., childcare fees have already been cut in half. When I was in Charlottetown last month for Pride, I met Leslie, a mom who told me she's already saved thousands of dollars. That's great, but we want even more parents like Leslie to have access to affordable childcare. So we need to create more childcare spaces. This is exactly why we're here today. Today, we can announce that Prince Edward Island will create more than 300 new spaces in early years centres over the next 18 months. Here in Cornwall, this Island Montessori Academy will be getting 6 new infant spaces. On veut tous que nos enfants puissent avoir le meilleur départ dans la vie. C'est pour ça que nos investissements dans les services de garde sont si importants. Et on sait que les meilleures conditions de travail mènent à des meilleurs milieux de garde pour les enfants. Child care workers are at the forefront of this new, ambitious Canada-wide system that we're building together. Today, we can announce that wages will increase this fall for early childhood educators and staff in designated early years centres in the province. And employees of early years centres will soon benefit from a defined contribution pension plan. Making sure that people at the heart of the care economy are properly paid and valued is really important. Everywhere across the care economy, conditions of work dictate conditions of care. This is how we deliver affordable, accessible childcare of the highest quality here in P.E.I. and right across the country. Et bien sûr, comme on souligne, de s'assurer que les services en langue minoritaire fassent partie de nos investissements en services de garde à travers le pays continue d'être une grande priorité pour nous. We're focused on making life more affordable and delivering results. The answer right now is not to stop investing in Canadians. Our government is focused on building things, like building quality $10 a day childcare. On continue notre travail pour bâtir une économie centrée sur le bien-être des Canadiens, une économie où les mères n'ont pas à choisir entre leur famille ou une carrière, une économie où tout le monde a une chance réelle et équitable de réussir. We're building an economy that works for all Canadians. Canada is the best country in the world. Let's keep making it better. Merci tout le monde. I'm now happy to pass it over to Premier King. Dennis.
Well done. Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister, and welcome to all of my colleagues, Minister Macaulay, Minister Sudds, Minister Jameson, Minister McLean, and MP Heath. Of course, thank you very much for being so welcoming here today. Good morning, bonjour, Quay. I too just want to add my voice to those in the Northwest Territories and British Columbia who are struggling with forest fires these last number of days. I've reached out to Premier Cochrane and Premier Eby just to offer our best wishes, offer some supports which we can while we don't have a robust major firefighting, forest fire fighting system here in P.E.I. We do have trained professionals that have gone across the country and beyond to help in times of need, and we've offered that again. And just wanted to say on behalf of all Islanders to send our best wishes for safety to those in the Northwest Territories and British Columbia. Prime Minister, welcome back to Prince Edward Island. It's great to have you here. Minister Sudds, thank you very much for joining us for this important announcement. And I can't say enough about Minister Natalie Jameson when it comes to education and early childhood. She has been at the forefront of this for a number of years. And as you saw when she walked into the room to play with the kids, I don't think she's any happier in life than when she could sit down with her kids, her 2 young children as well. But just, I know it matters to you on a daily basis, and I want to thank you very much for all you've done. You've done amazing work, and I think P.E.I. is becoming one of the places in Canada where we should look to how you do things right here in Canada. So we're very, and at the same time, I want to recognize Jennifer Nangreaves, who's here as well. She's the Executive Director of the Early Childhood Development Association, a strong partner for success here in PEI, someone who's long-seeing, who's an advocate for the people who work within this sector, and for the people who own these centres and who work every day to create the next generation of good citizens. So Jennifer, thank you very much to you and to all your staff. It's amazing. And Mark McLean as well, this is your home district. I know that we're glad to have you here. And as the Minister of Health and Wellness, one of the things that is helping us be successful in recruiting physicians and healthcare professionals to Prince Edward Island is knowing there's a robust system of childcare here for those who wish to make PEI home. So thank you very much, Mark, and keep up the good work. And my good friend Lawrence, of course, who needs no introduction in any sector or center of Prince Edward Island. I know we were talking, Lawrence, between 4 and 15, you have how many grandchildren is it? 8 grandchildren. So you know how important this system is. And I can't imagine the changes that you've seen and the evolution that you've seen over your career dating back to September the 4th, 1988, when he was first elected in Prince Edward Island. So I have a funny story about Lawrence. My Aunt Maisie was the biggest Liberal you could ever find, and her birthday was September 4th. And what she wanted for her birthday was Bennett Campbell or Lawrence to be elected or a fur coat. And really, when it came down to it, she said she really didn't want the fur coat. She just wanted Lawrence Macaulay to be elected. So that was a good birthday wish for Maisie all these years later. Just 2 years ago, in fact, 25 months, to be exact, to the exact day, Prince Edward Island was one of the first provinces to sign on to the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement. We were joined by the Prime Minister at Cole Francois Biot in Charlottetown to announce what would be one of the first provinces to reach $10 a day childcare rate here in Prince Edward Island by the end of 2024. Since that announcement, we have cut child care fees in half. We've reached an average of $10 a day child care for island families. And given the challenges that we are facing in our labor force and the cost of living, we recently pledged to go even further and faster by reducing all child care fees to $10 a day by the end of 2023, a full year earlier than we committed. So that's great news. And while, as we've talked about here this morning, while reducing fees are important, we also recognize with our federal partners that in order to ensure child care centres and early years educators are properly supported in the years to come, we must take those important next steps so we can continue to lead the country with high quality, sustainable and accessible early years sector for many years to come. And that's why today the province of Prince Edward Island and the Government of Canada are announcing 3 major investments to grow our child care space and to make further investments in our early child care sector staff starting this fall. So on October 1st, wage increases will be seen at designated early years centres across Prince Edward Island for early childhood educators at all levels as well as cooks. This is the 3rd wage increase since 2021, which has helped the recruitment and retention of those in our centres who care for our next generation in these designated centres across the province. And I think, Natalie, you said 54%? Is that the wage increase that we've seen for ECE level 3s over the last couple of years? So that's a major investment that we're very, very proud to make. Yeah, we should clap for that. Yes, thank you very much. In addition, starting in November, in collaboration with the ECDA of P.E.I., we will be launching a defined contribution pension plan for early childhood educators. This important initiative will help to recruit and retain those in the sector, as well as to provide them the ability to adequately plan for retirement and to make early childhood education a career, a successful career where they can retire and have the funds to do so adequately. Collectively, we are contributing almost $1.2 million annually to this initiative starting in November, so something that we're very, very proud to be doing. And last, and certainly but not least, in collaboration with the Government of Canada, the Department of Education and Early Years will be launching an expansion grant program to designated early years centres to open, as the Prime Minister said, over 300 new spaces in island centres over the next 18 months. These grants will help our growing population get access to high-quality childcare at designated centres from tip to tip across PEI and centres urban and rural. In the next 12 months alone, in fact, the province will be contributing almost $4.7 million to this important expansion plan between capital and infrastructure grants and operational grants to open these new, very needed spaces, and we're very, very excited and proud to be doing so. These 3 initiatives combined with will infuse over $8 million annually into the early years sector on Prince Edward Island, and it's because of the collaboration that we've enjoyed with our federal partners partners. With the Prime Minister, I would say the same as he said to me. When it comes to early childhood, early child care, the Prime Minister has been visionary on this. He's been stubbornly dedicated to it, and I'm grateful for it, because I think it's one of the places where all governments can make a contribution to the next generations to come, to make sure that our children have the best start in life. And I think this is one of the things that we'll remember you for a long, long time, Prime Minister. So thank you very much. The record investments that we've made together over the last 2 years, I think, as I said earlier, makes us the envy of the country. It goes to show that when you work together for the betterment of people, you put aside the partisan politics and you focus on getting things done, you can accomplish great things together, and that's what we've done in this sector. The benefits of these investments are endless. It will provide stability in our workforce. It will allow our parents, especially mothers, to re-enter the workforce with having access to high quality and affordable child care, and it will provide a better start for our next generation with having educated and certified early childhood educators in our centres to provide them with the foundational skills, the knowledge and the abilities they need to get a jump start in life and to get the best start in life at their early age. This is a great day for Prince Edward Island, but I think it's a great day for Canada. I want to thank the Prime Minister for making the time to be here today and for his commitment to this important file, to his commitment to island families. I want to thank Minister Sudds and Minister Jameson again for your tireless work. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's keep going. Let's take this and make this the best that we can make it, because there's going to be so many people, so many years into the future, so grateful for our efforts. So thank you very much. And it's my job, I forgot, because it wasn't in my notes, to introduce the new minister, Minister Sudds, to welcome her to Prince Edward Island, and I look forward to your contributions. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, and thank you to the Island Montessori Academy here in Cornwall for hosting us here today. As some of you may know, this is my first trip as the Federal Minister for Families, Children and Social Development, and it's the first time that I've been able to share the stage with Minister Jameson. And I could not ask for a better partner to stand with on this occasion. Our governments have worked together to create an affordable early learning and childcare system that is helping families thrive. P.E.I. is already delivering incredible results. In December 2022, P.E.I. achieved an average 50% reduction in licensed childcare fees compared to 2019, saving families almost $3,400 annually per child in licensed childcare. Truly transformational. Mais pour réaliser la vision qui partage nos gouvernements, on ne peut pas s'arrêter à la réduction de coûts. Il faut aussi construire davantage d'espace et développer une main-d'œuvre qualifiée et bien soutenue pour garantir des soins de haute qualité. Today's announcement of an expansion in designated early years centers will create more than 300 new licensed childcare spaces and will make a real difference for families. Nous sommes également présents aujourd'hui pour annoncer des mesures de soutien supplémentaires pour les travailleurs des services des gardes d'enfants. First, P.E.I. is announcing a further increase in wages for workers in early years centers, an increase over and above the ones that were announced last December, supported by federal funding. Second, the governments of Canada and Prince Edward Island are providing a combined $1.18 million in funding annually so that Early Childhood Development Association of P.E.I. can develop, implement and manage a defined contribution pension plan to support employees of early years centers. Reconnaître l'importance du travail de ces éducateurs et éducatrices, il leur offrir de meilleurs salaires et avantages sociaux est essentiel pour recruter et conserver une main-d'œuvre qualifiée dans le domaine de la garde d'enfants et pour encourager la réinsertion dans le secteur. I am incredibly proud of the progress that we are making to build an early learning and childcare system across Canada, and the fantastic progress that you are making here in P.E.I. Thank you for your ongoing partnership. Thank you. Merci. And I've forgotten as well, my last duty is to introduce Minister Jameson.
Thank you, Minister Sudds, and congratulations on your appointment. The Prince of Rhode Island and the federal government, we've been co-chairing the table, the early learning and childcare table for many years, and I know that this year is going to be an exciting year. There's so much work to be done, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and ensuring that we continue to move this file in the right direction. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. Thank you to the Island Montessori Academy for opening your doors and for inviting us into your space. It's always such a joy to see so many smiling faces as we visit early learning centers, and your staff, as always, have been so welcoming. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I do want to recognize Prime Minister Trudeau. Welcome back to Prince Edward Island. Of course, Minister Sudds, Premier King, thank you for your leadership, your tremendous leadership, as well as my cabinet colleague, Minister Mark McLean, and our MPs who are here with us, Minister Heath MacDonald and Minister Lawrence Macaulay. I also want to thank Jen Nangreaves and the entire team at the ECDA who have been pivotal partners in moving the early years system forward here on Prince Edward Island. L'île de Prince-Édouard est le chef de file au pays en matière d'éducation et de la petite enfance. L'excellence dans ce domaine est une priorité parce que les jeunes enfants sont la base de l'avenir de l'ensemble de notre province. For the future of our province, there is nothing more important to me than supporting our early learning and childcare system. All of these tiny hands eagerly reaching for knowledge, their curious minds soaking information like sponges. Through these investments, we are building up the next generation while also supporting parents and families and investing in one of the most dedicated workforces here on P.E.I. Being an early childhood educator is a calling. I call them angels, really. When I address them, they're angels. They truly have a calling. It requires not only exceptional patience and compassion, but also a specialized bank of knowledge and expertise in child development. It amazes me how early childhood educators know how to set up learning environments, both indoor and outdoor, that encourage children to explore their world, inspire curiosity and learning. I do want to take this moment to thank our early childhood educators as both a mom and as ministers. Minister, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. Merci, merci, merci. Today we are continuing to invest into our early childhood educators through wage increases and a new defined contribution plan. Ces investissements démontrent notre engagement collectif à soutenir le personnel de la petite enfance et à reconnaître le rôle central qu'ils jouent dans l'éducation et la formation des générations futures. If we want high-quality early childhood educators, we need to pay them well and support them both professionally and financially. These investments will help us to continue to attract and retain talented individuals into this vital profession. Finally, we are also investing in a new expansion grant to provide more high-quality, inclusive, and affordable early learning and childcare spaces for island families. This is exciting news, which I know many parents have been waiting for. With a focus on infant and toddlers, we hope to open over 300 new spaces within the next 18 months. These investments are made possible through the strong partnerships that we have with the federal government. So thank you very much. Nous avons tous le même objectif, soit d'offrir les systèmes d'apprentissage et de garde des jeunes enfants abordables, accessibles, inclusifs, flexibles et de haute qualité. C'est en collaborant que nous renforcerons le soutien que nous avons pour les enfants et leurs familles. In my opinion, as we look at all these beautiful children here with us today and the joy on their faces, this is money well spent. Thank you again for joining us here today, and I look forward to many more early years announcements in the months ahead. And with that, I'm going to try to remember here. I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer Nangreaves. She is the Executive Director of the Early Childhood Development Association, and she is one of the strongest champions I have ever met for this sector. So thank you, Jen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Prime Minister, Premier, Minister Sudds, and Minister Jameson. On behalf of the Early Childhood Development Association of P.E.I., we thank both our federal and provincial governments today for the recognition that early childhood educators have received in this announcement. ECEs are the heart of early learning and childcare system that children and families depend on. Our profession is being recognized from coast to coast to coast, and an investment of a pension plan here on Prince Edward Island is a benefit that our association has long been advocating for. Today's announcements will positively impact those educating our island children. This will strengthen our retention for early childhood educators, as well as strengthen our recruiting efforts as we continue to build on our robust, high-quality early learning and childcare system here on PEI. Early childhood educators are professionals. We are well-educated and dedicated to children and families and making the early years count. It is an absolute honor to be a part of yet another historic commitment and investment to early childhood educators and island families as we build our system. Thank you for understanding the value and commitment of building a system that is inclusive, quality, affordable, Canada-wide early learning across Canada. We support children, families, and early childhood professionals. I thank you wholeheartedly on behalf of Island early childhood educators for the recognition of our important work. As well, I thank you on behalf of the families that we currently serve and those who we will now have the good fortune of serving in the future as we continue to grow our system together. Wishing you all a great rest of your day on behalf of the ECDA Board of Directors and our valued membership. Thank you. Merci, Wilalio. It is my honor to pass it right back to the Prime Minister of Canada.
OK. Thank you. Merci à tous nos orateurs. Thank you to all of our speakers. We have 15 minutes for questions from media. Nous avons 15 minutes pour les questions des médias, and we will begin with Marika Walsh from the Globe and Mail.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Going back to your comments about Facebook, the company is only responding to your government's legislation that was passed earlier this year. So will you back down or change on C-18? Because they're saying that that's why they're blocking news.
The legislation we passed says that companies like Facebook that share local news on their sites, that allow people to share local news, should be sharing themselves some of the profits they make from advertising on Facebook, from sharing that information. It is Facebook's decision to put corporate profits ahead of allowing Canadians to access the news. Instead of making sure they're paying their fair share of the advertising profits Facebook makes off of Canadians with the professional journalists and local news organizations that keep Canadians informed, they are choosing to block access to their sites or access from sharing important local news. This is Facebook's choice. We're simply saying that in a democracy, quality local journalism matters, and it matters now more than ever before when people are worried about their homes, worried about communities, worried about the worst summer for extreme weather events we've had in a long, long time. Facebook is putting corporate profits ahead of our democracy and our well-being, and that's why Canada is not alone in standing up to say to the web giants that they have a responsibility to ensure Canadians can access quality local news in our democracy and around the world.
Going to another topic, the opposition parties in your government reached terms of reference for the foreign interference inquiry in early July. Has none been announced because you can't find somebody to lead it?
No, we continue to work very closely with all opposition parties on making sure that the terms of reference, the person who will be leading it, and the work that is done is in the best interests of all Canadians, that they are able to do the work without the kind of partisan toxicity we saw during the fall. We know that a robust inquiry into foreign interference of all different types is really important for democracy, and that's why we're moving forward with that.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Vos députés sont allés dans les festivals, les barbecues cet été. Il y en a qui m'ont dit qu'ils ne sont pas très contents des discussions qu'ils ont eues. Il y a de la grogne. Les gens ont l'impression que vous n'en faites pas assez sur la crise du logement. Vous parlez beaucoup de la classe moyenne depuis que vous êtes élu. Avez-vous l'impression d'être en rattrapage en ce moment sur la question du logement, qui est un enjeu important maintenant pour la classe moyenne?
Au contraire, depuis 2012, depuis que je suis devenu chef en 2013, on parle de la classe moyenne et de ceux qui travaillent fort pour en faire partie. On a ancré nos politiques en tant que gouvernement dans la croissance pour la classe moyenne. On a livré avec l'allocation canadienne pour enfants, on est en train de livrer avec les centres de petite enfance à travers le pays. On est aussi en train d'investir massivement en logement. Mais bien sûr, il y a plus à faire. C'est pour ça qu'on est tellement content d'être rassemblés en tant qu'équipe ici à l'île du Prince-Édouard pour notre retrait du cabinet, pour parler du coût de la vie, pour parler de ce qu'on peut faire encore plus en logement et assurer qu'on a des partenariats forts avec les provinces à travers le pays, avec les municipalités. Il y a du travail à faire, on est là pour le faire.
M. Trudeau, sur la question des sondages actuellement, il y en a un au début du mois d'août qui vous plaçait à peu près 10 points, 9-10 points derrière les conservateurs. Vous l'expliquez comment?
Écoutez, moi, ma priorité, c'est de continuer d'être là pour bâtir un Canada plus fort, pour aider les Canadiens avec des investissements qui vont les aider à envoyer leurs enfants en garderie, à payer pour les fournitures scolaires à la rentrée, pour aider à se trouver un logement. On a du travail à faire, nous tous, à tous les paliers de gouvernement, pour travailler ensemble, pour livrer pour les Canadiens. Et moi et mon équipe, on reste ancrés là-dessus.
Next question.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry, CBC. I know you're talking about housing at this retreat. I'm wondering, do you think your government has given enough consideration to housing when deciding to increase immigration numbers? And I'm wondering if you're concerned that support for immigration will be eroded if there's a perception that the country can't keep up.
One of the things I have heard consistently in the construction industry, for example, is the lack of labor, is the need for more carpenters, more skilled laborers, more folks to work in the construction industry to build the homes that we're needing to match the growing economy that we have right across the country. That's why immigration remains a solution in terms of the labor shortages we're seeing right across the country, in terms of building the kind of future for all Canadians that we need. Yes, there's much more we need to do on housing, and we're continuing to step up with record investments and partnerships with municipalities and provinces. But we're going to continue to be the open, welcoming, prosperous, and growing country we've always been, because that has been something that has led to great opportunities and prosperity for all Canadians.
Prochaine question.
Gabrielle Daumont, Radio-Canada. Question par rapport à l'annonce d'aujourd'hui. Vous annoncez la création de nouvelles places en garderie. Alors, comment le gouvernement fédéral compte assurer que ces places seront créées dans des centres de la petite enfance francophones? Est-ce qu'il y aura une clause pour ça?
Depuis le début de nos ententes signées avec les provinces sur les centres de petite enfance à travers le pays, on a exigé une proportion de places en garderie pour les communautés autochtones, de places en garderie pour les communautés minoritaires francophones et anglophones à travers le pays. Ça fait partie de l'entente depuis le tout début et on continue de veiller à ce que toutes les modalités de cette entente incluant par rapport aux langues officielles, soient respectées.
On veut créer des places, mais aussi on a du mal à recruter des gens, surtout de la main-d'œuvre francophone pour les centres de la petite enfance. Et quand on arrive à les recruter, on n'arrive pas à les héberger parce qu'on a une crise du logement. Alors, comment allez-vous vous assurer qu'on arrive à recruter des gens, des francophones, et qu'on puisse aussi les loger après?
C'est des conversations que j'ai de façon régulière avec le premier ministre King. On sait que par rapport au logement, par exemple, d'investir ensemble avec les municipalités pour créer des logements abordable doit être fait en partenariat. C'est pour ça d'ailleurs qu'on a mis sur place des investissements de 4 milliards de dollars qui vont directement aux municipalités pour augmenter l'offre de logement. On sait aussi que d'offrir des bons emplois, une belle carrière pour les éducateurs et éducatrices dans les centres de petite enfance ici à l'île du Prince-Édouard va amener des gens d'ailleurs pour s'installer ici. Et évidemment, on continue de travailler sur le logement pour répondre à ces besoins-là.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. Mackenzie Grew with Global. A few weeks ago, you said that housing wasn't a primary federal responsibility. That got some criticism from both the opposition and some housing critics. They say you have levers like immigration as well as taxation that should make it a primary responsibility. Do you regret your previous comment?
The point I made was that the previous government had completely walked away from housing. And we, since 2017, or actually since 2015, have been making significant investments in infrastructure, including the National Housing Strategy in 2017, including the Rapid Housing Initiative that is now on its third phase that was developed through the COVID years, including the Housing Accelerator Program with municipalities, $4 billion. Housing is a responsibility for everyone to work together on. The federal government, provincial governments, municipal governments, nonprofits, and the public sector as well, in terms of investing to make sure we're creating the opportunities for families to get homes, to contribute, to build the future and the communities they want. It's something we all need to work on together. We all have different parts of responsibility. The federal government is stepping up and continuing to work closely with our partners across the country who step up as well.
Next question.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Teresa Wright. I'm a freelance reporter, but I'm here with the Canadian Press today. And this question is from my colleagues in Ottawa. Were you able to review the intelligence reports that David Johnston had in his footnotes in the interference report? And do you agree with Green Party leader Elizabeth May that those records should be viewable to those with the right clearance?
The Minister of Public Safety, Dominic LeBlanc, will be following up on that issue.
And just, this is unrelated, but this past weekend I was camping with my family, and there was a vehicle that was a part of our, it was our neighbors basically, and it had a bumper sticker on it with your name and an expletive, which I had to explain to my children. Given that you're trying to do something that has rarely been achieved in Canada in history, a fourth mandate, have you considered the possibility that you have become a liability?
Ever since the pandemic, in particular, we've seen an increase in polarization and frustration and anxiety and mental health pressures on a whole lot of people right across the country. Nobody has been unaffected by that. And part of the challenge we have politically is that we are seeing deeper polarizations. But don't write off Canadians just because they choose to wave a nasty flag. Don't write off a neighbor who chooses to put a bumper sticker that unfortunately you then have to explain to your kids. People are hurting out there. And what we've seen every single time there's been an emergency or a challenge this summer is neighbors stepping up to help each other. This is who Canadians are. We are a big, optimistic, diverse country with a diverse range of political views, and it's one of our strengths. Another one of our strengths is how we pull together when times are tough. That's what we did during the pandemic. That's what we do when we work together to invest in early childhood education. That's what we do when we work with municipalities and provinces to build more housing. That's what we do when we invest in our future all together. Now, politics is never going to be a game of unanimous support. It's about a whole bunch of thoughtful, good people coming together to try and figure out the best way forward. And yes, there are people who are hurting, and there are people who are lashing out. And we need to be there to reassure them that they're going to be able to succeed, that their kids and their communities are going to be able to succeed, even though the world is changing in very scary ways. So I'm not giving up on anyone. I'm going to continue working hard every day to build that future that we all know Canada can have. We are the best country in the world. Let's keep making it better.
Next question.
JP Tasker, CBC News. Prime Minister, I wanted to ask you, how are you feeling after your recent separation from Sophie?
First, I want to thank all the people who've reached out over the past number of weeks with warm wishes, with personal messages, with personal stories that have been just wonderful and positive. I got a really good 10 days with the family to focus on the kids, to focus on being together and moving forward. And I really, really want to thank Canadians for having been so incredibly gracious and incredibly generous in respecting our privacy and our space. It really makes things easier.
Will Sophie have any role publicly moving forward, or is that it?
We've addressed that. I'm here and glad to be talking about childcare and everything we're doing together to build a better future, not just for my kids, but for everyone across the country.
Next question.
Prime Minister, the pharmacare legislation that's expected in the fall, how will P.E.I.'s experience with the federal government agreement inform it, and will it be intended to sort of be a single-payer, federal-led program, or a series of agreements that address gaps across the country?
In a wealthy country like Canada, it makes no sense for people to continue to have to choose between paying their rent or paying for groceries or paying for much-needed medications. That's why over the past years we have been investing significantly in purchasing power to bring down drug prices, and they've come down. To work together on creating a Canada Drug Agency, on bringing forward initiatives for the high cost of rare disease drugs. And we're going to continue to move forward in ways that make medications more affordable. It continues to be a priority for many of us in the House of Commons, and there's lots more work to do. Yes, we'll be informed by the great successes that we've seen here in Prince Edward Island, but there's lots to do.
Last question, dernière question.
Hi again, Prime Minister. I know that another topic you're talking about apparently is millennials, Generation Z, so younger voters. Is there anything specific you can talk about, what the kind of stuff you're planning to try and help millennial voters? And also, like, these are people who propelled you, or younger voters propelled you into office in 2015. Are you worried you're losing them?
During this cabinet retreat, we're going to be focused on the questions that are most important to Canadians. Affordability, how people are paying their bills, how they're looking with optimism towards their own future, how they build that future. Yes, how young people are going to be able to afford finding places to live, eventually owning their own home. We know how difficult and how unattainable that seems for so many young people right across the country. That's why during this cabinet retreat, we're rolling up our sleeves to talk about affordability, to talk about economic growth for everyone, to talk about how we're going to solve some of the housing challenges, and we're also going to lean in directly on making sure we're doing everything so that young people can remain optimistic and active in building the kind of future for themselves and for all of us that we need them to do. I'm excited about the work that we're doing and look forward to sitting down with all my colleagues after a few weeks of break to really get into it and make it happen. Je suis très content d'être ici à l'île du Prince-Édouard pour pouvoir travailler avec nos collègues sur les grands enjeux auxquels font face les Canadiens, que ce soit l'abordabilité, les coûts de la vie, que ce soit les investissements en logement ou que ce soit l'avenir des jeunes. On sait qu'il y a énormément de jeunes qui en arrachent, qui sont incertains qu'ils vont pouvoir s'acheter une maison, qui ne voient pas l'avenir avec autant d'optimisme qu'ils devraient. Et une grande emphase de cette rencontre va être sur comment on va faire pour démontrer aux jeunes qu'il y a un avenir extrêmement fort et prospère pour eux et démontrer qu'on est là pour les aider. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Merci, ça va mettre fin à la conférence de presse. Thank you. That will put an end to the press conference.